All right, so poking through the doldrums of winter racing is the Pegasus World Cup card about a week and a half from now. And that's why we're so thrilled. One of the reasons we're so thrilled to have Samantha on as a guest co-host for my buddy John today. You know, Samantha, I wanted to ask you kind of about the Pegasus as a general concept, and we can talk about some of the individual horses. I remember when it was like a $20 million race, you had to buy in for $1 million, and it was kind of billed as this big social event in Miami. You had the big concerts with Calvin Harris, et cetera,
Yeah.
after the races. You know, you've been down there for a couple of years now. How have you seen it develop? Is it still a major social event? Does it make a dent in kind of the Miami nightlife and social scene?
Well, I feel like that's just hard in general to do here, right? Because there are so many options, but it really does because you see a lot of people that you would never see at the racetrack typically, I feel like, at the Pegasus, and just the amount of people that you walk by and you're like, wait, do I know them from something? And then later on you figure out they were that one person in that one show one day. So as far as the social scene, it is very much alive. Obviously the purse has dropped and there's no longer a buy-in, but I feel like the hype around it socially and just kind of being this spectacular event is still very much alive and well.
So that's good to hear. I mean, I think I misspoke. It was a $16 million purse, then it went down to 12, then the 9 to 3 and then 1. And now it just kind of replaces the Don on the schedule. And the Don Handicap was a great race for a really long time. It's awesome that we've also added the Pegasus Turf Race. West Point's got 2 horses pointing there with Integration and Battle of Normandy. You're on the ground, Samantha. Like, you've seen the invitations, and you kind of, I guess, have a sense of who's coming.
Yeah.
You know, who should we look out for? Who are you most excited to see on Pegasus Day?
It's so tough, right? I'm excited to see how the California horses do out here. Obviously, there's been a couple of deflections with Johannes being sidelined, which he was going to be really cool to see out here, and I was looking forward to that. And unfortunately, we won't see him anymore. But I think the turf remains a very competitive race, and as far as the dirt goes, that's what a race that is. And Mystic Dan breezed last weekend, and I don't know if you were able to watch the work. It left a lot to be desired to me.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we can put the video up. Well, yeah, and it's interesting to touch on him as well, because that was unlike anything I've ever seen, him vanning all the way to Santa Anita for the Malibu. Now that's like a greater conversation that, like, ever since Tex Sutton stopped doing so many flights, there's a gap in the market, it seems like, to fly horses out to the West Coast. I couldn't believe they put him on that van for all that time. Like, do you think that he could kind of be worse for the wear for that trip, now having to go all the way back across the country?
It can be a lot on a horse. I will say this, physically, he does look incredible. And I think that time off that Kenny gave him helped him develop a lot more, because he was never a super physically imposing type of horse. So I think that he's done a lot of growing up. But as far as his quality, I think he's a nice horse, but the horses that he's going to face in a week and a half, I think is going to really even the playing field here for him, which will be interesting. But what I love about Kenny McPeak, and we were able to catch up with him after that work, is, and you've noticed from social media, everybody notices, he's so transparent. And I think that that's something in the game that's super refreshing. Like, I don't want to butcher his exact quote, but he said on Saturday after the work, after the Malibu, he was like, I'm disappointed in myself, not in the horse, but in myself for putting him in that situation. We thought he was doing really well, and it just didn't work out. But that's a hard ask. The ship, like you said, and then just the distance. That's a whole different type of track too.
Yeah, no, I mean, if he's able to bounce back and run a big race, like, I think that bodes well for him for the rest of the year. Obviously, being a Derby winner, his credentials are already solidified, but you want to come back at 4 and you want to build on that as an older horse, especially. I mean, this is also a question I have for you. Like, have you seen, this seems like an anomaly this year with the older horse division. Like, usually there's very little to choose from with the 3-year-olds coming back as 4-year-olds. Like, how cool is it to see, you know, Fierceness, Sierra Leone, and then in a filly, Torpedo Anna coming back? Like, it just seems like there's going to be a lot of great battles on the track that we don't usually get with the older horses.
I know we've just been so just unlucky with just these horses getting sent off after their 3-year-old career. So I think we should really take advantage of it and enjoy it while we can, because they're fragile. I mean, just being around the West Point horses, that just one little thing, it can just set the whole thing off kilter. So it is exciting. It's fun, and I think a lot of people kind of get into this headspace of, oh well, the older division is so weak, or oh, the Pegasus field, it looks weak. Well, where else are the horses? The ones that are sound and healthy, they're here. So what more can you want,
Yeah, no, for sure. I wanted to ask them more generally, kind of talk back and forth a little bit about the early part of the Gulfstream Championship meet. We had you on right before the meet was about to start, asked for a little bit of your observations on the synthetic track. Now we've had about a month and a half of real high quality dirt and turf racing. I'm wondering if you've noticed any trends. I'll just throw one out there from that I've noticed is, how about Dylan Davis going down there and then picking up right where he left off throughout the rest of the year in New York, just killing it. And it's, he has connections now because of the year that he had last year, but it's not easy to go to a new track that you've never ridden at full time and start winning at 25%.
Isn't that crazy? And at big prices too. I'm sure you probably cashed on him at Saratoga, as a lot of people did, because he brought in long shot after long shot. And that is tough. And it's tough because I feel like a lot of trainers will say, oh yeah, we'll ride you. And then, IRAD's on the horse or something like that. But I think it's good that he's kind of made his mark. And this is not an easy track to just come over and ride at, because I feel like things happen a lot quicker here, especially the grass course, especially the dirt course. Now, not as much on the dirt course as of late, I feel like, but it's tough. And he's got that timing down. And I think the more he rides it, the more he's going to even get the hang of it. But he's one that you want to pay attention to, especially with like a first-time starters. He won on one for Mark Casse a couple weeks ago. That was really impressive.
Yeah, well, he had a horse for show get like 14-1 the other day.
On Sunday. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, his ROI has got to be right up there with all the top riders for the past 12 months or so. The other thing was a couple, when we're talking about it in the epic performance of the week, but a couple of really nice Todd Pletcher firsters. And one at a really good price, Grande the other day on Sunday, who I know really impressed you. Camp Hale was an odds-on favorite in that race for Ian Wilkes, and he beat him on the square. Like, how do these horses get let go at 9-1, Sam? It's Pletcher and Rapoli.
But it's so tough to debut going a 1 turn, 1 mile from the rail too. That was obviously the odds were kind of different just due to the fact of Camp Hale, but the fact that he dueled virtually the whole way around with Camp Hale, which I felt like the tactics on Camp Hale were maybe a little bit overconfident. We weren't going 6 furlongs and they rattled off a 46-3. I think half for that 1 turn mile. That's not easy to do. And Camp Hale completely was fried. And the race riding by Johnny V to put him on the rail too, that's brilliant.
That guy's the best. He's like, and he's always in a great position early in the race. And like you said, the race riding to just make it just tight enough that the horse maybe thinks about throwing in the towel without interfering. As opposed to, I don't know if you saw the in the Pasco at Tampa on Saturday, or an Irad Ortiz horse, Owen Almighty got DQ'd for cutting another horse off at the rail. That's another topic that we could touch on is, Irad's gotten a lot of chances with this kind of stuff, and I wonder if they're ever going to be a point where somebody like lays down the law and like suspends him for 30 days. I'm kind of waiting for that shoe to drop, You
wonder, and then I think he got 3 days, only 3 days, which is just kind of questionable because that was a really dangerous spot. And what's funny is I played the double at that because I liked Miss Worldwide for Brian Lynch. So I played rookie card and Owen Almighty into that. And I was like, the 2 horses that were involved in this dumb mess were those 2. I was like, well, I'm done. But and it's sucky for the connections too. But at the same time, so I rode races, and I'm not saying I put the smartest rides all the time either. So obviously not at the caliber I read, but it's like you said, you kind of wonder, like, at what point does it give?
Yeah, no, and it's just, I don't think, like, there are a lot of people on horse racing Twitter that are like, attributing nefarious intentions to him. Like, I don't think he's trying to hurt people. I just think he's a little reckless, and I think that sometimes you really need to be sat down for a little while to just kind of recalibrate how you're going to ride these races. I also think of Paco Lopez. It took him forever to get sat down in a meaningful way with all the shenanigans that he's put forward. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. Like, as someone who's ridden before, as someone who's around horses a lot, like the incident at Parks with Paco, like, to me, it was pretty indefensible. I was shocked to see the trainer on Twitter defending it because the horse had slowed down to a walk. What are your thoughts on that, Sam?
Yeah, it's not. It's a black eye for sure, and you can't really defend it. I think that there needs to be more transparency as far as the course of action. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen anything or heard anything of when he's coming back or what. Yeah, I know that they said he was going to take anger management or something like that. Right. But I feel like there needs to be more transparency as far as, like, what are we going to do to prevent things like this from happening, like the Juan Machado incidents at Churchill or Keeneland. So I feel like there needs to be more, like, let the bettors know, or the industry, okay, what are we doing going forward so this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, no, totally. And yeah, it's there are certain things that I think are red lines that you can't cross in racing, and doing something like that is definitely one of them.